Hi everyone, I know most of you, but my name is Nancy Benetti. I'm with Quantum Engineering, your local rep for Beacon Medeiros, and we're going to go over your new medical vacuum system. You're very familiar with the claw technology since you have several systems already. This is our newest generation, and the benefit to this system is the TAE controls, and that stands for Total Alert Embedded. You have Total Alert master alarm panels, so this Total Alert system can automatically link to your master panels if you put this on your Ethernet. So you'll be able to get information at your web browser that you're familiar with down in the shop, and or if you chose to just link this directly, you can log on from your laptop or from your desktop right to the system and get live time. You can basically do virtual rounds. You can look at what pump's running, how many pumps are running, what your run hours are, when your next maintenance is due, and obviously if there's any alarms or alerts or anything like that. But the way the system's designed to operate is just like your other systems. It's a lead lag, and they alternate and cascade through each pump and come back to pump one. And if one pump can't handle the load, the second one comes in to assist, so on and so forth. And certainly if you have no spare or reserve, then you're going to go into a lag alarm. They are this oil-less rotary claw, so the only oil in the pump is the oil that's in the gearbox, and that is approximately an annual oil change. The screen will prompt you for whenever service is due. There are some daily inspections that it's going to require you to come up, do your daily inspection, and then clear that. Everything you do gets logged. So it'll log every maintenance function you perform. It'll also log any fault condition or any alarm that occurs. So with this system, and once we power it up and we start going through the screens, the password's the same for absolutely everything. It's 121212. So every acknowledged maintenance that you do, it's going to require that you put in that password, and then it'll reset the clock to the interval until it comes again. All right. The system is a variable speed drive like your others, and so we're going to set the transducer at the suction pressure that you prefer, and it's just going to camp out at that pressure and speed up and slow down as necessary. And like your other system, because we only have the one inverter, if one pump's running, it's going to run on the inverter. If it comes all the way up to 60 hertz, it'll switch over to across the line and pick the second pump up on the inverter, so on and so forth. So you could have, you know, two pumps running across the line and a third pump running on the variable speed. As far as maintenance goes on the system, you're pretty familiar with that as well. But again, the oil is pretty much an annual change. Your inlet filter, annual change. The coupling, we suggest that you inspect that approximately every 2 years. We do like for you to periodically drain the exhaust. Make sure there's no condensation building up in the drip legs on the pump exhaust. But other than that, it's a pretty low maintenance machine. I don't know if you have any questions on what I've discussed, but we can walk around the machine, kind of go over all the components, and then we'll liven it back up, and we're going to go through all the screens because it's a little bit different than what you're used to looking at. All right, and so we'll come around. Obviously, per code, you have your bypass around the receiver tank. So your bypass valve should always be closed under normal operating procedure so that we're going through the receiver tank. So these valves are open and this valve is closed, and off to the system. Here's your source valve and your alarm switch. As far as the pumps themselves, on your daily inspections, you want to look and make sure that the oil level in the sight glass is good and that the oil is a nice golden color and not dark. You know, we don't want any contamination. So keep an eye out for the color of the oil, and you want to make sure that your a little bit above the halfway point on the sight glass. And they're all in the same position. So you do that in your daily inspections. And like I mentioned before, the drip legs, there's one on each exhaust with a valve, and I don't expect that you're going to get much of anything, but you know, if it went indefinitely without getting cracked, you are discharging very warm air that will eventually cool through your exhaust, and eventually you'll get some kind of condensation there. So you're going to want to drain that. Your inlet filters, which are right here on the inlet of each pump, those are an annual change as well. And also, all of the part numbers are stored in the control cabinet, so when it does prompt you to perform that service, you can also identify the part number you need. And we even go to the length of giving you our phone number so you can call us and place the order. But so again, filters are an annual change. The motor bearings, those are an annual greasing. These pumps, the smaller pumps, the bearings are permanently sealed, but in these ones, you do have to grease them every 6 months. And other than that, you've got a relief valve on each one of the pumps. They are air cooled. If we allowed them to pump all the way down, they would pump all the way down to full vacuum, and then we'd start to overheat the pump. So we do have a relief valve that's factory set that you shouldn't have to touch, that's going to start to relieve air into the room in the event that we've satisfied vacuum but we're still running on the minimum run timer and the pump wants to keep pulling down and pulling down, it's going to get limited by the relief valve. So that's pretty much the overall pump information. Obviously you have 3 twin sets, so 6 pumps that you're going to be alternating through. And any questions on that so far?
How long has this system been running? Like, not this system, but this design?
Oh, we've had the TAE out there for over 2 years now.
Has there been any motor bearing issues?
Motor bearing issues?
Yeah. With the variable speed drive?
No, no.
Do you protect the
yeah, they're ceramic.
Ceramic bearing?
Yep. Yeah, and
so if they fail, that's what we have to replace them with, the ceramic bearing.
You're probably best talking to Chip on that stuff, as far as the, exactly what type of bearing and what you. But we haven't had that problem.
Okay.
We really haven't. We did change, as you know, from the Rishley model to the Bush model because we were having issues, and it wasn't necessarily bearing issues on them either. It was more we had shaft seal leaks repeatedly. And it was kind of inherent in the design.
How hot does the oil get? Do you have any idea?
I don't know the temperature of the oil, no. I don't.
The inlet filters, do those warm up at all? Or like, can you shut that down and do you have to wait for it to cool?
No, because actually when you're under vacuum, you're actually lowering the temperature of the airflow, so that's...
Well, some of these components get hot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Particularly on the discharge, and yeah, absolutely. It does get very hot. So, anything else? Why don't we fire it up? We're going to go through the longest part of this is going through all of the screens, and I will tell you that you really can't do any harm. So, when you have an opportunity and you want to get comfortable with the controls, you know, after I'm gone and you want to start navigating through the screens, you're not going to do any damage. And that password, that 121212, is not a high-level password. We have higher-level passwords for the things that our guys need to do. So I don't want you to be timid about, you know, touching the screen because it's not a problem. The other thing too is these will cascade on a delayed start so that you don't have a sudden inrush current. If you were to lose vacuum or we were below the set points, instead of all of them turning on at once, they would cascade. Okay, so this large screen is the main screen, and that's what we refer to as the system screen. This is going to give you all the status information relative to the system. So this first field here is telling you what your actual vacuum pressure is inside the receiver tank. And this is telling you what speed the VSD is operating at. You'll notice that there's a graph in the corner. Any field that has a graph means we're trending that information and recording it. So you could actually go back and look and see what your history was. And it defaults to 60 minutes. But you can go all the way out to the last 6 days if you did that. I killed the power, so there's nothing there.
So on a power loss, that's going to go away while you're trending?
That information will. If you lost power, but you're going to be on emergency backup.
How do those respond to bumps? Like when it switches over from normal to emergency power?
You might have a momentary delay, but
Would you keep your information?
oh, the information, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But the pumps might have a momentary delay to kick on, yeah.
Wondering about the inside.
No, that should stay. So the first one, like I said, is your suction pressure, and this is your variable speed. And then this is pumps 1 through 6. Obviously, the pump that's running, it's going to light up green, and that squiggle is an indicator that that's online. And the plus sign means that pump number 2 is the next pump to come on. And it should rotate all the way through and back. And again, this graph here will tell you, if you were wondering typically how many pumps have to run simultaneously to sustain load, you could go and look, oh, we typically need 2 pumps or 3 pumps under normal circumstances. So that's the main screen, and this heartbeat here will always bring you back to the main screen. Now the wrench is the maintenance or the service screen, and the wrench is red, which means that it's calling your attention, something needs to be done. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything heavy duty, it's probably a daily inspection. So we're going to go into the service screen, and we'll see that the maintenance field is lit up red. So we're going to go in and we're going to enter into the maintenance screen, and it's telling us check receiver drain. Now, you guys are probably familiar with this because they have the same prompts on your other system. I don't like that terminology because you can't really check and drain a vacuum receiver tank without bypassing it, venting it to atmosphere, and that's just absurd. We're not going to get any fluids over into the receiver tank. So the factory's response to this is we just want to get them in front of the machine. So it's going to ask you to do this once a day, just to get you in front of the screen so that you can do your daily walk-by. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to reset that. So in order to reset it, I actually press that red part and I hit reset. And then I put in that password 121212. And it'll clear, and it says now you're due in 24 hours. And it's actually just logged that information in here as well.
Can you change the
No.
1212
Well,
or no?
you can't. I'm not supposed to.
Higher passcode.
Yeah, but there is a higher passcode. We installed a system similar to this at Pfizer, and that really was a bone of contention for them. Don't tell us to come check the receiver drain once a day. So it went up and up and up, and finally I said, you got to give me that password, and I went in and I changed it, but we're not supposed to. So you'll see that pumps 1 through 6 are red as well. So that's calling my attention that it wants me to do something. It wants me to check the oil level, which we actually just did. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset that. Same password. And now it tells me in a week I've got to do it again. Unique basic kit. And it gives you the part number. And I can't imagine. How long has this skid been here and fired up?
Well,
A couple weeks.
Looks like July. So if that's a once a year thing, I'm going to reset it, and it says 365. I'm not sure why that is actually coming up right at the moment.
Can I ask a question before you
Yep.
reset that?
Yes.
So that says minus 28 days, and there were other ones that didn't have that minus. Does that mean it's 28 days?
It means
past
you have not been doing your job.
for 28 days?
Yeah, for 28 days. Yep.
That sounds right.
That actually sounds like I'm doing good.
There you go.
28 days past this.
All right. Maybe that's why it's saying that, because it's not resetting. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. That. Okay. So now you're a year out. And this is getting laborious, I know, but you've got 6 pumps, so we need to do this for all 6 pumps.
Full-time job.
Can you can't like multi, I don't want to say that.
Do
Clear
it-
2 alarms at the
once.
same time, or look at all of them, you have to individually go to each alarm?
Yep. Yep. Apparently my fingers are.
You don't gotta clear them all, right?
Okay, but you get the point, right? All right, so now they still need to be cleared for the others. When I'm done, I'll clear them for you.
Do the main building.
Now, the maintenance is still saying red because we didn't go in and acknowledge all of them, okay? The rest of this screen here, diagnostics, that's more for our guys. These inputs and outputs help them troubleshoot if a problem occurs, a fault. The software version is just if they're ever out here and they are aware that we have an updated software version and you guys are on the previous, they could come and load you up and bring you up to current software. Testing, this is more for annual testing. Your certifier would use this. Again, same password to get into the testing screen, but if you wanted to, oh shoot, stupid fingers. 1, 2,
You
1.
must be a whiz at texting on a smartphone.
Oh, I'm just excellent at this. I don't text. So if you wanted to trip the lag alarm here and verify that it rings out at the 2 masters, it makes it easier on your annual testing. There are other things here too, like some of these things you won't bring back to your master. You can if you want, but I think you guys tied everything into a general fault anyway, so it would.
Just kind of come here, check
Yeah.
it out, and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you might not know that it's, you know, in particular the VSD or whatever, but you'll come out here and you'll see that there's a fault.
Okay.
So that's your testing. We trend the ambient information in here too because we don't want this system operating in an environment above 105 degrees. It's an air-cooled piece of equipment. That's not a happy environment. So we constantly record the temperature in here because we have run into situations where maybe a mechanical room lost cooling, pumps tripped out. By the time our guys actually get out here, cooling's been restored. We don't have access to you, and we're out here going, well, what happened? Well, we can go in and say, oh, it was 145 degrees in here for an hour and 30 minutes, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, so it helps us more than,
Temperature
Yeah.
sense
As
was
opposed to starting to try and diagnose.
right, exactly.
was temperature sensor.
Where's the temperature sensor? It's inside the cabinet.
There's filters on the outside. So if the filters don't get changed, it'll go off
Right,
the temperature.
and that's a good point. This side filter, it can get pretty dusty, you know, you're going to want to periodically take it off, blow it off, clean it to help keep it nice and cool. Yeah.
You have 2 temperatures in the ambient cabinet. You were asking for what temperature sensor, the cabinet sensor or the
Yeah, you actually,
The cabinet
the
sensor.
cabinet sensor's inside,
I
yeah.
had a Guaran cabinet before.
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah,
I
but-
think she's saying
Yeah.
the ambient goes over 105. Where was the ambient temperature?
Yeah, I don't know where the sensor is actually. I think that's inside the cabinet too. No, I'm pretty sure it's inside the cabinet. We And again, you're not going to shut off because your ambient's high.
Well,
It's
at some
right.
point, I'm sure it will,
Eventually,
right?
that's going to be the result, but you're
Are
not.
there pre-warnings before that?
Yeah, what's going to happen is you'll get a warning, and we'll get to that. This bell here.
Okay.
This will warn you. You know what? You're not shut off,
No.
but if you continue to ignore this condition, that could be the end result. Yeah. So, so yes, it will monitor that. And again, these graphs are trending it all the time. Now the bell, like I was saying to you, the bell is a warning. You're not shut down. Nothing is tripped out, but it's a warning that you're in a condition that warrants some attention. Like a lag alarm doesn't mean you're down and out. It means you've got no backup. You've got no reserve.
So, just out of curiosity, and I just want to try and understand the system. If that lag alarm is on, that means that all 6 units are running and we still don't have enough vacuum?
Or one is shut off and in service. You know, if you,
It's
yeah,
not able to
basic,
produce
right,
vacuum.
exactly. It basically all available units are either running or they won't start.
Okay.
Not, yeah, either tripped out or shut off or whatever. Yeah, yep. If you had a VF default, you're still going to be able to produce vacuum. You're not down, but we want you to know. So it's going to give you a warning. If someone shuts the variable speed drive off, it's going to indicate that continuously until it's turned back on. Ambient temperature, like we were saying, if you're warmer than what we want you to see, you're not shut off, but hey, not a good situation. Same thing with cabinet temperature. And then the control circuit, there's several boards in here, circuit boards. Nope, these are your pump boards that actually, I think your other unit's the same way. They went to that whole intrinsically safe, low voltage circuit boards inside here, and there's multiple boards. You could lose communication with several boards and not lose vacuum. So you would be none the wiser. You'd have no idea that you have a board problem until you get down to the last board, and then you're in trouble. So we want to know if even one board loses communication, that that control circuit will light up, and we'll know, okay, we got to call Beacon in, we got to find out what's going on. So if this bell is red, give us a call. It's a warning. You're not shut off. It's not panic, but we need to address it. If the exclamation point is red, that's a different story. Okay? That means you're shut off. One or all, God forbid. But yeah, so if that's red, that's more concerning. Okay? Now, that whole trending thing that you're familiar with from your other systems that logs everything that occurs, that's this field here. There's not much at this point. Now, the settings screen, pretty much self-explanatory, but right now your transducer is set at 20 inches of vacuum, so that's where the variable speed's going to try to level out, and that's obviously adjustable. The audible alarm, it's set for never, so that once you acknowledge an alarm and you hit silence, it's not going to re-enunciate. It's going to stay visually intact, but it's not going to re-enunciate. If you wanted it to re-enunciate every shift or something like that, that could be adjusted if you wanted it to. Language is obviously set up for English. They only give you guys one choice, but we do obviously sell them everywhere.
You want to change it?
I did. I was hoping it would be Arabic. Something squiggly lines.
I don't understand. We measure the vacuum in inches of mercury and temperature in Fahrenheit. That can be changed as well. Model number, self-explanatory. It's also on the side of the panel. So if you were ever up here and you wanted to get some information, you could either read the information off there or get it right off the screen, your serial number, your wiring diagram, and PW means you have the premium warranty, so which is 2 years bumper to bumper. Yep. Date and time, obviously that's in here so that all the event logging matches up. But if you were up here and you were scratching your head saying what day is it, you could always look that up. Networking, you can, like I said, you can network this with just one Cat5 cable to the nearest hub, assign this an IP address on your system, and you can get live time information right from your desk. And it can also page you. I know you love that at 2 in the morning.
My page is 6, yeah.
General, what was general? Oh, backlight timer. If no one's here in front of the machine and there's not any activity, it will, after 1 minute, dim and go black just to save the life of the screen. So if you ever walked up and you saw it was black, you know, don't panic. As long as that light's green, you know, you get power, just wave your hand in front of it. And
Is that what that white circle is?
yeah, that's the sensor right there. So that's the pretty much the main system screen, and of course this is your silence button, nothing to silence right now. And the heartbeat brings you back to the main screen. And then these are each one of your pump screens, basically your HOA switch. Obviously you want them in the automatic position under normal operation.
I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
On a maintenance concern now, you're saying that's, how do you lock that out? How do I say, let's say I want to use unit number 2.
You can't lock it out.
Can't lock it out.
Seriously?
I'm in the process of trying to get them to put service switches on every machine over here and main building.
That's a very good point. You have to go
Inside
inside.
the panel,
Yeah,
literally disconnect the wiring?
you'd have to.
Well,
You
inside
don't.
the
There's a
panel,
switch. There's a
inside
switch
the
on
panel.
the starter
It's
inside the
gonna-
panel.
But if you shut that off, it will throw an alarm at base.
I don't care.
No,
I'd rather have
Yeah,
it thrown in a
yeah.
line than a-
Yeah,
I'm trying to get service switches on every machine.
that's a really good point. You have to go inside and turn it off.
The other thing you can do is you can shut off 3
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 at a
that's
time,
a
but
little bit
that's-
ridiculous. You just wanna
yeah.
let's say there's a huge vacuum demand, well, we got half the thing shut off.
This should be twinned together, I believe.
Yeah.
And again, what they've done too, because this is such a big system, a hexaplex, just because of the panel will be so huge, that's why they only have
Right,
the 3
as opposed to
disconnects.
individual
Whereas if
disconnects
this
for
was,
each
yeah, like a quad system, we'd have 4 disconnects, you know, but, but that's a really good, that's a good point. So these are your HOA switches. Obviously they should be in the automatic. The I is basically your hour meters. So you should be pretty consistent. If there's any huge dramatic, oh, that's kind of a big difference. What did I do here? My fingers are too fat, I think. That's what it is. That is a bit of a difference, actually. I don't know why this one is that much.
They commissioned all the lag gas with this. They managed to put them on hand for a few
Oh,
days.
okay. Yeah. They should be normally pretty,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
fairly
Now,
close.
So there's no programming inside or any logic that will say, okay, 4 and 5 are kind of high, we'll use 1 through 3 and 6 and catch up?
No, not on this system, no. The only way right now would be to consciously shut one off so let the other ones catch up. Yeah, that would be the way to do it. But they will alternate,
Regardless of hours.
yeah, regardless of hours. So now, this wrench here, if there's anything to do on that particular pump, then that wrench will be red. Right now, this screen you probably aren't going to use very often. It's more useful for our guys. Like the rotation button, that's for startup, because often we only have one guy out here doing a startup. So, you know, he needs to get, you know, from the front to the back to check rotation, so that's for him. The diagnostic screen, again, is just inputs and outputs. So that's pretty much for them. And then the testing screen is also the same idea as the main screen, where you can test alarm points on that unit. The bell would be an indicator that, okay, this particular pump either has a high temp discharge, it's not hit the cutout, you haven't shut off, but you're operating hot, something's going on, give us a call, or the control circuit board relative to that pump has lost communication. It doesn't mean the pump's not running, it just means you need to come in and address that board. So again, the bell is a warning, and the exclamation point means that unit's actually shut off, and it's going to tell you why. Either shut off because of the high temp, or maybe the motor tripped out on overload, or a VSD fault. And again, the screens are the same for each one of these. The heartbeat brings you back to the main screen here. Yep. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any other questions or. You good?